For you to take a really good landscape stroke seascape picture, there are many ingredients that need to be in place, i.e. lighting. The lighting needs to be right. We all know sunrise and sunset are the best times. Tide heights. It's important that you get your tide heights right. And thirdly, especially if you go to the seaside, it's much better to have interesting or dramatic skies. But what happens if you have none of the aforementioned? Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. I find myself in the Dovercourt area, so I thought before I headed home, so I've just finished a 3-day workshop, or 3-day singular workshops, of which they went really well, and they were new workshops for me, so I'm dead excited about that. But before I headed home, I just thought I'd head down to Dovercourt to photograph the incredible lighthouse, except everything apart from the height of the tide is wrong. It's pretty much middle of the afternoon. There isn't a cloud in the sky, and as you can probably tell from the light on my face beating down, it's just horrendous. Having said that though, that in my opinion shouldn't stop you from going out and at least trying to take some pictures. Now, with my style of fine art photography, these conditions, they work fine. Yes, they'll work better in better lighting conditions and with better skies, but I can almost guarantee you I'm still going to take a picture or two that I'm going to be very happy with. Now, just before I fine-tune a composition or two, I'm just going to see if I'm able to capture a 2-minute exposure under this lighting. And do you know what? I definitely can. So how I've done that is set my camera to 1/8 of a second, because 1/8 of a second translates to 2 minutes when I apply my 10-stop filter. So based on that theory, I'm at 1/8 of a second, my ISO is at 64 and my aperture is at f16, and that has given me a very decent looking histogram. Right, so now I've established under these lighting conditions, using a 10-stop filter, I can easily achieve a 2-minute exposure. If I want to go longer, then I'll have to apply my 15-stop filter, but at the moment certainly no need to do that. An extended shutter speed beyond 2 minutes isn't going to make a jot of difference to the sea, and there's no clouds in the sky. So realistically, I'm just going to stick with a 2-minute exposure. Now, if I throw you guys in camera, like so, then before I fine-tune my composition, and I will talk you through what I mean by fine-tuning my composition, my first shot is probably likely to be something like this. Really simple, really minimalistic. For any of you guys that have followed me on my YouTube channel, then you'll know that I like to photograph lots of nothing, and what I mean by that is negative space is just a wonderful, wonderful tool to know and understand, i.e. here there's going to be 90% of negative space and only 10% of that incredible looking lighthouse. So composition number one is going to be something like that, offset to the left hand side. The reason why I've offset it to the left hand side is because that bright hot spot from the sun is on the right hand side, so for me it just seems to fit quite naturally. Now, if I was to move my camera and place it in the middle, to be honest, it would work there fine as well. Even place it to the right hand side would work. Let's go back to where we were. Once I photograph that, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to photograph the lighthouse something like that, which again is almost like 99% of nothing. If you've never done this before, try it. Honestly, try it, because it really, really works. And once I've done that, I'll probably zoom back out, I'll zoom back in and have a play around with the waves that are moving, because over a 2-minute exposure I'll get a nice white line. So at the end of the day, I could be making segments that could form a natural rule of third or a nice point of interest. But without further ado, let's get my composition back to where it was a second ago. Double check my histogram, make sure my camera's nice and level, make sure it's in focus, and then let's grab shot number 1. That picture looks really good. Let me give you a little tip. Before I move my camera, even though the histogram was very healthy, nowhere near touching the right hand side, with a big gap, there just looks to be a hot spot on the side of the lighthouse, and there's absolutely no way I could live with myself if that was the case. So I'm just removing my 10-stop filter, and I'm underexposing by a stop, and then just taking a picture. So that way, just the panel that appears to be a little bit hot in the frame, I can remove it, I can swap it over with the underexposed image, just in case I need it. Right, okay, that's done. Now, again, before I move from here and before I start fine-tuning, I'm just now going to opt for, and you know what, I'm going to bang it right in the middle. Right in the middle. Get that horizon all the way down, which probably would make it quite uncomfortable for a lot of people. And then take another 2-minute exposure. And that way, that'll give me quite literally 99% of nothing. And as soon as this image is captured, I'll talk to you about what I consider to be the most important part about setting up your pictures when it comes to landscape photography. And that is what I call fine-tuning. You know, I was just chatting with somebody the other day, and they asked why I liked doing really long exposures, i.e. 4 minutes and 8 minutes. And I just think personally it's because maybe subconsciously I do it just to force myself to stand still and absorb everything that's going on. Because let's be honest, you know, even on a day like today, even at a time like now, when everything is wrong about landscape photography, it's just incredible. We're by the sea, crashing waves, not particularly cold, and it's just nice sometimes to stand back and just absorb everything that's going on. More often than not, we turn up, we're rushing against tides, we're rushing against time, we're rushing against light, and before you know it, your shoot's over, you're in the car, you're driving home. And very often, without actually taking a breath and having a moment to just enjoy everything that you see in front of you, everything that's going on. So as much as it's pointless doing an 8-minute exposure today, I am forcing myself to just step back and thoroughly enjoy this moment. So what exactly do I mean about fine-tuning? Well, I think this is the difference between making an image okay and making an image brilliant. You know, sometimes, especially if you're a member of a camera club, when you take a picture and you get it critiqued by somebody and you hear those fateful words, do you know, if only you move 2 foot to the left or 2 foot to the right, it would be so much better with your composition. So what I like to do is get everything set up, and then what I mean by fine tune is look at the image on the back of the camera or in the viewfinder before I press the button, and then just think whether there's anything in the frame that I like or don't like, or anything I believe that can be improved. And in this instance, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the lighthouse and I'm paying particular attention to the feet of the lighthouse. If I just show you guys in camera, like so, what actually happened was I got out of the van, climbed over the wall, came down here, got excited, started taking pictures. I bet that sounds familiar. What I haven't given any consideration to at the moment, although at the beginning of this video I did say I'm going to grab a couple of pictures and then I'm going to have I'll talk about fine tuning. So just look at the legs a minute. Let's make sure everything is in focus and make sure we're nice and bright. We are there, wonderful. So because the only subject really in the frame at this present moment in time is that lighthouse, I'm just looking at the legs and just thinking, can I change the way the lighthouse looks just by moving further to the left or further to the right? So at the moment you can see there's 4 sets of legs coming down, and on the left hand side you've got 2 sets of legs close together, on the right hand side 2 sets of legs close together, and also there's a ladder there as well, but the ladder is hidden behind the front right, as I'm looking now, the front right leg. So what I'm thinking about doing now is if I move further to the left, I can change the way those feet look. I can maybe make them look better balanced, more symmetrical, and maybe I can make the ladder more of a feature because the ladder at the moment is hidden. So all I'm going to do now is go for a walk to the left and a walk to the right just to see if I can improve on this composition. I actually like that picture though. I do like it there. That's quite nice. Before I move, it'd be rude not to. And before I take that shot, I've made a conscious decision. My aperture is up around f20 and f22 to bring the light down in the sky. I really don't have a problem with that. Closing my aperture all the way up doesn't bother me, especially when 90% of the image is going to be blurred anyway. But I'm going to apply my 15 stop filter just so that I can raise my ISO to a more comfortable ISO 100 and open my aperture to a more reasonable 7.1 stroke f8. Again, I'm happy either way. Okay, so I've set my camera at 250th of a second. 250th of a second translates to 2 minutes with a 15 stop filter applied. Pre-focused, bosh, away she goes. So I've literally come across to the left hand side about 20 or 30 feet, that's all. And as you could see now, the feet look a lot more symmetrical, and also I can see more of the ladder. The ladder's less hidden, and it'll make a world of a difference to the pictures that I've just taken a second ago. So now I'm going to retake them like this, because I think honestly just that distance, hopefully you guys can see exactly what I mean. But now the symmetry is perfect and I really like that. If I go further to the left hand side, then I could change those 4 legs into 3, and I'm gonna do that. I'll tell you why. Because to my left hand side a little bit further, I've spotted a red marker in the sea. So I'm either going to use a red marker as foreground interest for the lighthouse, or just simply shoot the marker on its own. Whoa, what a day. And do you know what's really strange is now, I know the clouds are wispy, but we're getting more and more of them in the sky. And to be honest, I didn't want that. I wanted this video to be all about, can we take good pictures when the conditions aren't brilliant? Let's have a look at that. That 99% of nothing is just awesome. And now it looks totally different again. Further to the left hand side, just as I thought. Now there's only 3 legs, and I could definitely see more of the ladder. Do you know, it probably pays to keep your camera away until you've done a little recce, until you've walked left and right and fine-tuned before you get your camera out and start taking pictures. But more often than not, I turn up, I like something, I take a picture, and then I think, can I make it better? I know we don't all work like that, but that's just the way I like to work. I don't know if I like this perspective more with the 3 legs and the ladder than the 4 legs and the ladder, but I still love it. I think it looks fantastic. But what we've got from here now is, I've got groins that are just beginning to reveal themselves as the tide is going out. And I can use those as foreground interest as well. But of course, before I do that, camera straight out, and let's get a lot of nothing in the bag first. Now I know that all of these pictures so far I've taken are pretty similar in composition, I know that, but I'm just trying to hit home how important fine tuning is to your composition. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, right? 2 minutes of that marker, and then let's look at introducing a bit of foreground as well.